Rev up your engines!
J Sweet 308 says, should I flush the tranny of a 2019 Chevy Equinox with 36,000 miles? No, never, ever flush a GM transmission, or most transmissions. You can flush crud through them. Change the fluid and filter, yes. Just drain it out, change the fluid and filter. That's it. The only time I ever tell people, look, if you want to flush your transmission, you can do it in this one case. And that is, your tranny doesn't even move or it shifts like crap and clunks and you can't even drive the thing. What the heck? Try a flush. Maybe you'll get lucky, right? But I've had so many people that I met, went to other mechanics, they bring the car to me, I said, your transmission's slipping. Tell me the history, and they'll say, well, last week I had it flushed at a shop, and ever since then it's slipping. And I tell them, well, now you're going to have to rebuild the transmission. Don't ever flush. Just change the fluid and filter. Drain it, put a fluid and filter in it, and leave it at that. Never flush it. Robert Marrero says, do you still think the Ford Maverick Hybrid is still a good buy? From Robert in Florida. Phenomenal gas mileage. They don't cost all that much money, but they're made in Mexico. So, I've road tested them, and I liked them. The customers I had with them didn't have particular problems. I haven't seen any big problems with them yet. I mean, they're made in Mexico. But a little truck that can get like 40-something miles a gallon, that's something. That's really something. And if they hold up over time, anybody out there bought one, they're having problems or they love it, give me the feedback so I can get more information to tell everybody the truth of what's going on. All right, she says, are you a cheapskate with everything or just cars? Well, I used to be a cheapskate with everything, but as I age, I am not as cheap. I will go to very nice restaurants, get good food, give them big tips, Might as well spend some of it on the grandkids and whatever. But personally, I still enjoy a bargain. Okay, I've got a beautiful Triumph motorcycle, right? Do you think I'm going to spend $18,000 for a new one? No, I bought a used one for $5,000. 10,000 miles on it, still got tons of life in it. That's just how I am. I want to save money. I don't like wasting money on stuff. I don't see the point. There's so much crap out there. Whatever you buy is generally going to break in a short period of time. Why spend high dollar for crap, right? And I'm not a collector. Like Jay Leno, he collects all those cars. Okay, he's got so much money. He doesn't know what to do with it. So he collects all these cars and drives around. That floats his boat, right? Me, I'll look at them, but I don't have any interest at all in buying them. You can only drive one thing at a time. I got one motorcycle that's fine, a car that's fine. My wife's got a car that's fine. We got a spare one lying around. Who needs 8 million of anything? You really don't need it, Well, as they say, you're born with nothing, and when you die, you got nothing. So just have fun in between. Don't think collecting toys is going to save you and make your life meaningful, because believe you me, it doesn't. Dreamcatcher says, Scotty, do you reckon we can only solve air pollution by switching to electric cars? Do you see a future where traditional gas guzzlers are completely gone? Well, the gas guzzlers are going away, and they get better gas mileage. Now, switching to electric cars is not going to save the planet. Ask any honest scientist, and they'll say, no way, because the pollution that's put out in the world, less than 20% of it is the cars, right? So the max you could get rid of would be 20% pollution. When you think what it costs to make the cars, the pollution of making the lithium and all the crap, plus the pollution that occurs when we generate electricity, you're only saving maybe 10, 15% of that 20%. So it's such a spit in the bucket, it's not going to save anything. And people are realizing that they're not falling for this stupid crap. Now, maybe way in the future, fusion, or they'll have regular nuke plants, or they'll use the waves in the ocean and tides to generate electricity. A lot of energy there, right? A lot more than stupid wind. And then maybe we'll have electric cars. Maybe they'll be able to turn water, H2O, hydrogen 2, oxygen 1, into hydrogen and oxygen and have fuel cell cars. Who knows what the future will be? But as they stand today, electric cars aren't going to save anything. Piggy says, Scotty, I'm looking about 2000 Mustang GT with a rebuilt engine and tranny. Any tips what should be worried about or look for? Okay, well, what is rebuilt engine and rebuilt transmission, right? I've seen so many people, oh yeah, man, the engine's been rebuilt. Then you take the oil pan off and it's full of sludge. And you can see the only thing they did was clean out the outside and spray paint it. And the engine was an old worn out pile of crap. Transmissions, okay, if it's an automatic transmission, over 1/3 of the automatic transmissions that I rebuilt are not rebuilt correctly. If you're going to buy something like that, you gotta take it to a guy like me who's gonna put on his fancy scan tool, drive it, test it out, and tell you, yes, it was rebuilt right. Yes, it's a good vehicle, or no, the guy who did this work is full of crap. And on top of it, if they do say it's a rebuilt engine and tranny, find out who did it. Say, okay, who rebuilt it? Then call up the guy and say, did you rebuild this? So what did you charge him for it? And I'm thinking about buying it, and you'll be my mechanic, whether you want the guy to be your mechanic or not. Tell him that, right? And he can give you the information so you can make a wise choice. You might find it where it is, drive by his place and see there's a bunch of people missing teeth that are working there, and there's junk cars everywhere. Then you know, I guess that guy probably didn't do such a hot job. I'm not going to buy that one. Heavenly Skull says, our Jaguar F-Pace Dynamic R are good vehicles. They're beautiful looking, they're fun to drive, right? But what do you mean by good? Will it last a long time without breaking down? No. Will it be an endless money pit as time goes on? Yes. Good for the Jaguar dealers, they'll make a fortune off of you fixing this stupid thing, you know? I mean, they're beautiful cars, they go like stink, they're fun to drive around. But if you're looking for value for your money, look elsewhere. Do not look at Jaguar, you know? I mean, if you really are into Jaguars, you'd be better off buying a classic Jaguar, you know, like the one Steve McQueen bought. And you pay money for it, but if it was all done over right, it will actually hold its value because it's a collector's item and it's simpler. Steve McQueen's Jaguar had carburetors on it, had a manual transmission, was fun to drive, and everything on it is mechanical and can be fixed. Not all the computer crap that they have today. Brad Lagato said, X-Tool or Autel in the $1,000 area for a scan tool, what is better? The Autel by far. Autel makes excellent scan tools. Now, mine's a $5,000 one. It's an Autel Max. It says Ultra EV, and it does electric cars and hybrid cars too. It is the bee's knees. But I also have $500 Autel that I use all the time. It's one of the 800 series, and it's an excellent scan tool too. The thing about X-Tool is they're both Chinese companies. X-Tool's a newer one, and a lot of their stuff, they're kind of clones of the Chinese other makers, which of course themselves are clones of other places like Snap-on or whatever. Ford is presently suing. They've been suing some of these Chinese companies for years. They'll never get anywhere because they're in China, but they claim they stole the Ford software, didn't pay them for it, and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons stuff like Snap-on is super expensive, because they pay for all the rights of the software to the companies because they're based in the United States too. They get sued, they go to court, and they would lose in the United States. But all those, X-Tool, Autel, they're all Chinese companies, so they can get away with a lot more stuff than American companies can. The Naughty Will 101 says, Scotty, what do you think of an '06 Volkswagen Jetta TDI with a manual transmission? Okay, everybody knows I hate Volkswagens. I'm not a Volkswagen fan. But here's an exception. That car. Those diesel engines can run forever. 400,000 miles, right? And it is a manual transmission. What kills Volkswagens are their automatics, but that's a manual transmission and a diesel. It could be an excellent car. I mean, I've seen people drive them along 400,000 miles, and they're still running okay. Sir Nove 65 says, Scotty, I'm thinking about buying a 2001 Chevy Blazer, 129,000 miles for $3,500. What do you think? Okay, I can't stand the new Chevys, but that's an '01. They were still making pretty good vehicles back in '01. If they can absolutely, positively prove that that's the real mileage, only 129, and a mechanic like me says it's in good shape, buy it. But you want to look at two things. Numero uno, the transmission. You want a mechanic like me to hook up a scan tool and analyze the transmission. Transmission's the weakest point. They often go out on those. So if a mechanic says the tranny is good and the engine is good and it's not rusted out, go ahead and buy it. Timothy O'Reen says, Scotty, is it safe to replace only rear brakes with performance brakes, or all four have to be the same power? Fronts don't need replacing. Go ahead. Brake pads, squeeze the brakes. You know, you're not going to find that any difference probably in the way you drive. 90-something% of the stopping is the front brakes anyways. The rear brakes are there to keep it from sliding side to side when you hit the hard brake and corner, right? So you won't have any problems, you know. Your back ones are going to lock up now and the front ones won't. No. As long as your back ones are fine now and the cylinders are good and they don't lock up, putting performance ones on isn't going to hurt anything. And then you can put them on the front when the front ones wear out. Raphael Olivio says, Scotty, what do you think of a Lexus LS500 used 2021? 29,000 miles for $45K. Will it last? I'm a cheapskate. They cost too much money. And when they age, they cost a fortune to fix. But generally, they do not start to have serious expensive problems till they get 150, 200,000 miles. And that one's only got 29,000 miles. So it'll probably last quite some time. I'm a cheapskate. I'd never pay that much for a car. That's 7 times all the money I've spent on every personal car I've ever bought myself. So I'm a cheapskate. And I've been driving for for, what, 55 years. So let's face the facts. I'm too cheap to spend that kind of money on a car. But if you don't mind spending it, that's a good car. And it will last because it hardly has any miles on it now. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.